Ian, a
Yeah.
topic came to our collective notice
Attention. Yes.
from Chris Brew on Twitter.
Brew or broom? I think that's an M.
It's an M? Okay.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd tweet at you guys about this, but eBay introduced what they're calling the collection beta. Looks like marketing is for cards right now, but wouldn't surprise me if it expanded, if popular, to other media. So when you click on the collection beta on eBay, it's a little hub. Right now it's for sports cars, it looks like. It's time to level up. You can upload, manage, and track the value of up to 1,000 cards that you own, buy, and want all in one place. Get started by adding a CSV, which is a comma delimited, basically a spreadsheet or text file.
Right.
So what you'll love, eBay market value, the most accurate reflection of an item's current value based on verified transactions. List in seconds. The listings you create from your collection are pre-filled. So just review them and hit publish. Tools for management. A card sells every second. Keep up with tools for organizing, tracking value, and more. So what eBay wants to do then is then integrate basically almost like a price charting tool into their auction service. The same way on price charting, you can enter your entire collection. They want to do that, but they're going to be using their eBay prices in order to gauge and basically give you up to the second, literally up to the second, what your collection and individual cards are worth that you then can sell. Or I guess they'll probably then also have like they want to buy. So they'll have like a list that stuff you own, stuff you want to buy, stuff you're selling, So this is like the next step forward that we've seen the past few years with obviously with card collecting getting back into the new hotness with the pandemic and probably Pokemon cards they'll probably do at one point. So I guess the question will be, what will happen in your estimation if this comes to video games and game collecting?
I think it'll be interesting to see. So this makes sense to me. This is kind of like the natural evolution of all the collecting apps that we've had in the past. Now it's basically that, but with an attached storefront to it. I think it would make. I'm actually surprised, and I think it's just because they really have been hot since the pandemic. I'm actually surprised that they started doing this with sports cards first. I feel like maybe it's just because it's the hobby I'm in, but I feel like video games would have made the most sense since we've seen explosive growth in video games. That was not related to the pandemic. We did have a lot of explosive growth related to the pandemic in video games, but video games had been growing year over year in terms of their popularity, whereas up until the pandemic hit, sports cards had kind of fallen off. Someone can correct me. They definitely will if I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. So I'm surprised.
Well, sports cards are might be more easier because you just have release year, card number. That's it. You don't have all variants. You don't have, does it have the box or manual or not? It's
sure. Right. And it's mostly going to be graded cards, that are slabbed, the one thing that sort of thing actually makes a whole shitload of sense for. So yes, there's a lot less variables involved, I think, with cards. I do think this will move to video games. Absolutely. I think it will take a few years. I think it's a convenient thing. I don't know if it's necessarily good or bad. I think it will cause people to focus on the value of their games, perhaps more so than anything else. And as a whole, it could really turn video games more into what's that term I hate? An alternate resource or something like that than it was in the past.
Like basically another commodity that you own.
Right. It's going to cause, I think for some people, this is going to be great and they'll handle it. And I think for other people, it's going to cause them to commodify and focus on the value of their games more than anything else, at which point I think that takes kind of the fun out of the collection. It's why I don't spend a whole lot of time looking, for instance, Discogs basically already does this with records. You can, list all your records. It attaches, as long as you're filing them correctly, the right print runs and stuff like that. It attaches a general, you can see what they're worth. You can pop it up on the marketplace for sale. And I think a lot of people get involved in that and end up looking at the record collections almost as like a stock market or any other investment market. And that kind of takes the fun out of it. I don't spend a lot of time looking at the value of my records. I'm always surprised and happy when I see I have one that's worth a couple $100, but I hate for that to be the focus of any hobby.
I think it's dangerous.
Yes,
is why.
I think with a couple of clicks, you could have people buying to fill holes in their collection, and it's impulsive.
Well, there's a lot of reasons it's dangerous. I don't think eBay should be in the business of being a price guide, which is basically what this will become. I don't think they should be in the business of it. I think
it already is, though. I mean,
but not de facto, not like this.
Sure,
this is going to be it's listed as this game is worth this much right now on the eBay market. I don't think they should be in that business at all. I think it's unethical.
I also feel like they need to, because it's going to be difficult to. You got to really focus on the auction prices and not the buy it nows, and that's what I think is going to really skew the pricing of eBay.
But even the auctions can be manipulated with shill bidding, and it's the issue we have right now with these things on eBay is that they don't filter out stuff that's not paid for. When we search completed listings, we see all the green listings of stuff that was quote unquote bought. We don't know which ones weren't paid for, and all that stuff potentially right now when a seller looks at it or prices something out, say at a convention, they'll look at all the sold listings. There might be 3 or 4 in there that aren't, and we've seen this happen, in other markets for other collectibles where you can manipulate the market. You absolutely can do that. And so I don't think it's in eBay's interest to try to guard against that, because they don't want their prices to go down. They want them to go up on all these things. That's because that's their bottom line. So I think it's as dangerous as someone like WADA trying to say what they think a game's gonna be worth. They should be out of that market. They should be impartial. They should just be the platform that you can buy and sell things, and that's it. I don't like that. I don't like it's connected to a price. Like you said, now it takes the fun out of it. I think it's more nefarious because people are going to lean too much. They do it right now, but people lean too much on one source as being the sort of the price range for a certain item. The same way like how like Beckett's guides came for sports cards like in the 90s, where that was like, well, if Beckett says that, well, they have to source that from somewhere. And at least in the past, they sourced that stuff from a bunch of, they went to, before the internet, they went up and went to all the sports card conventions and people record them. Right now, you don't have people recording. And this is something I talked to JJ Gaines about years ago, that you should really delve more into the private sale market and what's actually been happening and going to these conventions, seeing what stuff's actually selling for. That would be a lot more. It's a lot more work, obviously. There's no incentive since they're not publishing a monthly video game price guide. That would be interesting, but there's no incentive to source out what things are being sold for actually in person. Like, shouldn't it count that I say a game that eBay sold for $100, I got for only $50 at a convention because no one else wanted it? Shouldn't that count for something? I'm not saying everything, that should count for something. Like it's going to PRGE and seeing what stuff is selling for there should count for something in the grand scheme of this. So that's not happening, and that will never happen when it comes to how these things are priced out. And I think it's a shame. So I see it. I see it be fun to track what your collection is quote unquote worth, but yeah, it's just I think it's bad news overall. And I don't think I'm being alarmist. I just look at the natural progression of how these things work out.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, any way that these sorts of things can be manipulated, they will be at this point. Yeah,
I mean, would it be nice if I can get right now it's in Google Sheets, make it a CSV and upload it, and I guess see how effective this tool would be to automatically saying, well, these are Sega Saturn games, this is what they're worth. You have these Master System games, you have these NES games, and then seeing it come out and parse it out. Yeah, that would be great. That would be great. And then I can click a button to list them. I just don't think eBay should be in that business. That's it. Or at the very least, be able for me to upload everything. And then maybe after I click on an individual item, you get okay, here's your preferred, or here's the buy it now range of what's happening. I think it's a lot. I think they should have that hidden behind another layer, not just have, oh, here's all the prices laid out. I just don't like that. I think that information should be more hidden, but they won't, obviously. Would you upload some games in to see what they're worth? Ian's muted.
Sorry, I was coughing and I forgot to unmute. I mean, maybe just for interest, but at the same point in time, I don't want to get rid of it. And like I said, with the records, the more I look at that stuff, the more I'd be tempted to potentially unload it. And I don't need the temptation. I like the stuff that I have. I'm buying less stuff, but I don't necessarily want to get rid of it. And, you know, seeing all those numbers there, it makes it really easy to be like, really, $500? All right, fine, get rid of it.
No. If it sells for that, I mean, obviously,
yeah.
If it sells,
I'm happy just looking up individual games when I want to know what they're worth. Like I said, I don't do I do that with a collection already. I do it with all my records, and I don't look at it a ton. I just don't see the point.
Did you see like a major shift in how people commoditize the records after they started adding those features? Or
those features have been around for a while, and I think Discogs is pretty good about. I feel like the marketplace is pretty fair, to be honest with you. But I'm sure there were growing pains with it. But they've been doing this sort of thing forever and ever.
Sure. All right. Well, I guess we'll see when they start rolling this out. For obviously, it'll be Pokemon cards next, because that's just like sports cards in terms of the ease of listing things.
Even easier because it's not different companies or brands. It's just
that's true.
Pokemon cards. I think seeing this for Pokemon cards, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic, that probably makes sense next. I think comics make a lot of sense.
Sure.
Because again, that's still easy, a little bit easier. And then maybe video games. I feel like it's inevitable that this will happen for video games, but I think that is
toys. Maybe
toys is, I think, even harder than video games.
Think so?
Yeah.
I don't think it's harder.
Well,
really.
No, maybe
a lot
not.
Less volume. You know?
Sure.
And you still have variants, but like not nearly probably the variants of video games. I would think. I'm trying to think. Like Star Wars figures, you'd have like, you know, say Boba Fett, you'd have the Star Wars card, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi card, space versus desert. So there's like 5 different variants or so, or 6. Don't kill me, toy nerds. I know some of this stuff. It's off the top of my head, but you know what I mean? Like you have to track for all the variants. That's why the card thing to me is like, it's the card. That's it. It's a chase card, but that's it. There's not like 7 variants of this, you know, chase card. It's the chase card with its number 4 of 100 or whatever that you put in your own info. But games, I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
I guess we'll see. There's just too much. We don't even have a good. We're still not in a space where we have, you know, a grading system for unopened game. For open games, we don't have a grading system for.
Yeah, I was going to say it kind of just stop.
It hasn't matured to that range where people will say, okay, you have a complete box game. What's the actual grade on this? Is it a 9? Is it a 7? We don't have that. Well, we'll see, Ian, as we, you know, I don't know. Everything's for sale nowadays, so we'll get there.
Yeah.